what is the most Feverdream-like game you've ever played? Something that stuck with you as a fuzzy memory, lurking in the depths of your subconsciousness for years, decades after playing it. Something that you question, did you really experience it? Was it even real? Because you can't really recall that many details. You can't remember the plot, characters or the goal of the game. Just the atmosphere, the feeling you had while playing it. It was weird, dreamlike, surreal. You try to look up the game to find out if it even exists, or was it all your imagination? Or you come across it randomly one day and realize, oh yeah, so it wasn't a hallucination. For me it was Army Men such as Heroes 2. We had a copy and I remember playing it a lot, but at some point I almost forgot its existence. Just a faint memory of these green toy soldiers on a kitchen table and lots of stuff blowing up. For some few 90s kids, that game was a CD-ROM title named The Museum of Anything Goes, a Windows 3.1 game from 1995 that's one of the lesser-known pieces of computer game history. Those who know it remember it for its bizarre nature and unique atmosphere. Its strange visuals and sound effects, full-motion videos of real people, aggressively 90s aesthetics, simplistic 3D animations, and skeletons. Lots of them. Yeah, it's a dictionary example of a Feverdream game. The game's cover introduces it like this. This museum is unlike any you've ever seen. There are no gods, no rules, no limits. Become a part of the imagery and experience a thrill of this unbelievable interactive museum. Photorealistic 3D space, stunning artwork, travel to locations around the world and places you cannot imagine. Discover humorous characters, nightmare visions, knock on death's door, don't get lost, enter at your own risk. Okay, that got scary quickly. The Museum of Anything Goes is a point-and-click free roam, where you explore the museum and its surroundings. And there's no specific goal, the experience is simply clicking on paintings found in the museum and witnessing whatever multimedia madness you get. As the name implies, anything could wait behind these paintings. It might be a simple picture show with occasional looping short videos, like you're being forced to look at your relatives' holiday pictures and your auntie made ugly edits to them. Or you might get some guy's performance art, like you're being forced to look at your art teacher's mid-projects from college. Or you might travel down a river, on a train, or climb to a vantage point. Nothing too crazy. Or you might get 3D creatures having a talent show, or intercourse on the moon.
To be or virtual reality? That is the question.
We are the moon ants, we do the work. We are the moon ants, we love the dirt.
I keep having this dream where I feel like I'm floating on a stage.
And whatever this is. You might also get something like this. Yeah, they weren't kidding with nightmare visions.
What a scary bitch.
In case you're hearing about this game for the first time, it's one of those spooky Feverdream games. I have been fascinated by this game ever since I heard about it. Something about the strange vibe, 90s educational CD-ROM aesthetic, and the combination of silliness and eeriness made me want to learn everything about it. I wanted to know, what is this even about? What's the point? Was there any thought behind this seemingly random and senseless posting? Who even made this? Let's go to a virtual museum trip together to check out what's awaiting us in the Museum of Anything Goes.
You're here, then you're gone. Time waits for nobody. Life marches on.
In order to get into this virtual insanity, we need the game. The physical copies cost like a gazillion dollars, but luckily it's available online. Starting the game, I'm welcomed by the hardest intro. Then I find myself in front of the museum building, but I'm not going in just yet. I wanted to check out the surroundings first, and I got my introduction to the game style. Full motion video clips of 90s people, roller skates and bright colored spandex included. Combined with stuff like an old-timey horse carriage, a clown teleporting to another dimension, and silly sound effects and music. You also learn that moving in this game is kinda awful. It takes a while to figure out how to get to your destination, and sometimes it still fucks off somewhere else entirely from what you intended. And at least for me, I had to click a million times for anything to happen. When it's time to go inside, I get a warning from this guy.
Don't go in there. Look what happened to me.
That's nice. Ignoring the implication that this museum melts your skin off, I open the doors, get an eerie sound effect, and see a kid straight from The Shining rushing in. Nice welcoming. Especially the strange, psychedelic pair of eyes staring right back at you from across the hall. I know my first pick. Again, getting to a specific painting can be tricky, so sometimes I just accepted my fate and went anywhere the game was taking me. Good thing that for this one, all I have to do is go forward. Clicked on the picture with eyes and I'm greeted by pitch black darkness and silence. Only this teddy bear chilling with its creepy black void eyes. Clicking the bear makes this happen.
You're a real
Smarty, aren't you?
I'd like the darkness again, please. You can interact with some of the stuff, like the clown, making it go awooga at some unseen Klussi. The toys give you goofy, unexpected sound effects. The sound design in this game is great, I actually love it.
4, 3, 2. Pop goes the weasel. That tickles.
Yeah, there's nothing much to do here. Can't even make dirty words with the ABC cubes for the epic comedy. I'm out of here.
Bye.
I'm not gonna show everything in this game, because of course the best way to experience this is to play it yourself. I'm just gonna pick a few things I found cool and interesting. Most of the sequences have minimal interactivity. But there are some where you actually get to do something, like design a beautiful garden, or solve a jigsaw puzzle, or try to create art with the worst brushes. This is the best I could do. But most of the time, you just sit down and baffle at whatever the game is showing you. This one has some kid screaming for help from inside a 3D model thing.
Help!
They multiply and clicking them gets you different results.
You're a real
Smarty, aren't you?
Like another undescribable 3D model thing flying around, and the star shapes going at it on the moon.
Thanks for helping me.
You're welcome. Several of the paintings have nothing more than shots of people walking around or chilling. Sometimes sound effects create a whole new meaning to them, like comparing masses of people to cattle. These FMV sequences are fascinating to look at today. They're time capsules from a gone-by era, snapshots from the 90s, where we see ordinary people just living their everyday lives, unaware of being immortalized in a weird PC Rom game. Like, who is this, other than the coolest lady ever? These were filmed only like 30 years ago, but already society, culture, things like fashion and technology have changed to unrecognizable. And this is the real 90s people experienced, not the romanticized Instagram version made up later. I enjoy the music of this game a lot. It's amateurish, quirky and offbeat in the best way. You hear some of the soundtrack in this game's experience, where you control a train. You look at sceneries and stations of the past while listening to some cool tunes that change with every stop. My favorite is this one. And this. No, but seriously, the music adds a lot to the whole experience, building the surreal atmosphere with its own unique flavor. It's as important as the visuals themselves, both complementing each other to create a whole piece of art. It is really like walking around in a virtual exhibition of modern art, checking out a curated collection of multimedia works, like I have seen worse in real-life museums. Outside the paintings, when you're just exploring the museum halls, you meet other visitors like this whole grandpa.
You gonna stand there all day? Do you know where you're going? Hey, you kids! That's not the way to go in there!
Mind your own business, man. I'm trying my best. The museum is pet-friendly too. Uh-oh, someone's emotional support ostrich skeleton is on the loose. You also get random WTF moments like this.
The fish is gonna get me! The fish is gonna get me! Help!
I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you.
Or simply 3D objects flying all over the place. This game is a big fan of that stuff. Unsurprisingly, the game is full of random absurd moments.
Yeah.
Don't fry me in the
Chirpa, 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 chirpa. Chicken or the egg, chicken or the egg.
That one made me lol out loud. Oh no. Even the more mundane parts might be hiding silly little surprises. WTF, were they on drugs when they made this? The Museum of Anything Goes is not all funny, quirky moments. It has some unnerving imagery that has made players puzzled. Why exactly were they put in here? That is messed up. Yes, I will now talk about that scene. If you were already familiar with this game, it's likely because of one scene in particular. You see, the obscure game got reintroduced to the public by one painting experience that became infamous after Winnie from Rhinesaws played the game. It starts with a picture of the sky with a text. Click this button if you want to see someone fall out of the sky. Yeah, what did you expect to happen? Now you have to attend his funeral. It's just polite, you killed him after all, kind of a dick move. So we get video footage from a cemetery where a grave is being digged. While waiting, you can check out the other graves. You read about the, I'm pretty sure made-up people lying beneath, who they were and how they came to pass. Like this political science teacher who dropped acid and thought he was a frog, ending up getting hit by a train. This guy's radioactive. And this lady passed in a parachuting accident caused by her own husband.
I'm gonna come back and get you, Richard!
All I could think about was that one South Park episode.
Swing me, Richard, swing me higher! I want to touch the sky, Richard. Don't worry, Richard, I'm a pilot!
Mendoza!
When you get back, the gravesite is finished and you're warned not to check it out. Like, really dude, bad idea. For the morbidly curious, what follows is the reason why this game became infamous. And just a heads up, I'm censoring it, but it can still be pretty disturbing. Yeah. It's a guy putting, something inside of an incinerator, most likely a big carcass, definitely not a human body like some have been afraid. This is not Hong Kong 97. But yeah, the whole game became famous because some thought this is a morgue, and that's a person, and the spooky tubers like Nexpo started to cover it after Vinny's video.
Whatever you do, don't click the grave, you'll be sorry. What, a spooky skeleton? Oh my god, that's a dead body! Get me out! The fuck is this shit? Was that educational?
To be honest, I think it's pretty clear that it's not human. But it's no wonder people have speculated about it. After all, this part was all about a dead guy and his grave. The game does imply we peeked at a person getting cremated. It's creepy nonetheless, and the audio of crying babies makes it even worse. Just why the hell did I choose to put footage of a butchered animal carcass with sounds of screaming babies in the game? What the ass? Get me out of here! The Museum of Anything Goes has a strange obsession with death. Our mortality is referenced a bunch of times. Like in a cave section, you can find a mummified body on a wall, snoring loudly. His brother, a skeleton guy, is guarding him in case of grave robbers, like me.
Stay away from my brother, you grave robber.
The cave has the most eerie stuff.
I'm gonna get you.
You know what, that one actually jump scared me. It was a great idea to play this at like 2 AM and not exactly sober. Here's a painting titled Dead Letters, Lost Memories. Here you can read all the letters written in different points of the 20th century. Like this one from 1956, where some girl is gushing about Elvis to her friend. A couple of letters are from students in the 60s and 70s who are writing to friends about college life and experiments with psychedelics. Someone pitching movie ideas in 1985, simply describing known 90s movies like Wayne's World. Really funny. What if they made bad movies about, I don't know, obscure Spider-Man characters? We got letters from both world wars. A pacifist writing to his parents explaining how he's a guinea pig for the army being tested with mustard gas. A CIA agent's note from the 80s is about plans to overthrow foreign governments for the 8,000th time. A recent letter from 94 is about near-death experiences and abortions. This one is for John Lennon, written shortly before his passing. The anonymous group of authors call Lennon out for dissing Ronald Reagan, threatening him to leave the US or they will make him. The audio is sounds of shots fired, ambulance sirens and people screaming in panic. Whoa. Yeah, these letters are puzzling. I'm not sure what to make of them. Like with the gravestones from earlier, I don't think these are real people. Politics and societal questions seem to be the thing that connects these letters. Maybe it's about the passage of time in general, like we're getting a glimpse into an unknown dead person's life and memories. Next to the painting with dead people letters, we get something that felt like a bad ayahuasca trip. It's a section filled with existential pondering about life and humanity. The trip begins with a text, to those of you not yet born, but of the future. Following is a bunch of heavy stuff about our existence, how insignificant we are in the grand scheme of things. Because all we are is just flickers in the history of life on Earth, specks of fly shit floating around the infinite space. How our self-consciousness, awareness about the universe surrounding us will make you anxious. I am a primitive, living in an age of post-religious, pre-immortal, earthbound anxiety. Who can be content as just a link in the chain of evolution? A picture of a dinosaur fossil is shown, with this fun little jingle.
We found out that we were wrong. We found out the failing throng. Fittest survive is the only call. Nature does not need us all. We found out. Some found out what it's not all about. Extinction is our surely fate. Hope we're not too late.
It's reminding us of these extinct animals that used to rule the earth long before us. Now all that remains of them are few fossilized bones. The same will happen to us eventually. We aren't special.
You're gonna die, nerd!
Disagreements between humans are therefore not significant either. Why do we insist on their importance, even justifying violence against others? Many are chained to the pillars of lost civilizations. Many bow down to phrases as sharp as a guillotine, while the background, the ear-splitting soundtrack of supernatural silence continues. Yeah, we tend to cling on to customs and traditions, no matter how harmful they might be, because that's what we've always done, following rules written down by those who lived thousands of years ago in a very different world from ours. They don't have faith in themselves. They don't trust or believe in their kind. They want you to twist in a constipated bliss and leave freedom of mind behind. Close the doors, to be watched, to be followed, to be listened to. They'll rip out your tongue, pluck out your eyes, shatter your ears to protect their own fears. watch out. Yeah, I'm sure we all have an idea what kind of people this is referring to. Great way to get baby's first existential crisis. Despite his experience being pretty much just a wall of text with philosophical rambling, I think this is one of the most interesting parts of the game. It's like the creators are outright telling you what's been going on in their heads while making this game. What they're trying to say here, because other parts of the game start to make a bit more sense now. You know, like all the references to death, reminding us that we are all temporary flickers of space dust. New life starts where old fades out. All our memories destined to fade away to make room for new ones. And you know the random morphing things. Perhaps it's that space dust reincarnating as different forms. The passage of time. At the time, contemporary snapshots that are getting further and further away to the past. Pictures around the world showing how this planet is full of amazing wonders and cool people. Nature, you know, like other species we share the planet with. It's about life and humanity. There is no goal in the Museum of Anything Goes. You can't really win this. Just like life itself, in essence, it's pointless and chaotic. But we can create our own meaning to it. My interpretation might not be the same as yours, and that's the point. This game is meant to be interpreted. Different people see different things in it. When you've had enough and you open the doors of the museum again, you see the sunset and the end credits. So who made this game that in a span of 2 hours made me laugh, confused, amused, curious, creeped out, frustrated, filled with existential dread? Well, not much can be found online about the two creators, Michael Markowski and Maxwell Robertson. All the information about them is either lost to time or buried under dudes with the same name and Google's the searching system. The game itself tells a little about them. Quote, "The authors of the museum are two guys who have had no real contact with the outside world for 2 years. Michael has been cranking our multimedia projects since his last 3 neurons disconnected in the early 80s. Maxwell howls at the moon once a month. I love how they describe themselves as insane. Production tools, as many brain cells as we could muster. Production budget, whatever change fell out of our pockets. Probably not surprising to anyone, these guys went to art school. It is kind of an artsy game. Apparently their art has been seen around the world, but nothing about their works can be found online today, or at least not easily. Same with other named people, like the performance art guy. It's like they're all non-existent outside of this single PC Rom game. The creators, or at least Markowski, made another game in 1997 named Imagination Park. Pretty much nothing can be found about this game either, it's possibly lost media. It's kind of wild to think about how these relatively new works have since disappeared in cyberspace with their creators. How the same could have easily happened to the Museum of Anything Goes, if no one hadn't bothered to archive it. Even the game's publisher is pretty obscure. White Sata Technology focused on CD-ROM softwares like encyclopedias, factbooks, sound and photobanks. They published all kinds of random stuff to see what would stick. The costs were pretty low, allowing them to be experimental and make riskier decisions. According to the founder of White Sata, Mark Engelbart, it was just 2 guys f***ing around with Macromedia Director. Yeah, that explains some things. The Museum of Anything Goes is one of the last things White Sata Technology published. It had become clear that the business idea of porting other companies' disks for Mac computers and making random multimedia projects on the side was about to meet its end. The company was shut down the following year in 1996. I can't help but think that this game was a sort of a last Hail Mary. They knew it's all going down, so the creators were let loose to just compile something. It's likely not going to save the company, but at least they had one last swan song of a schizo post that might interest a few people who are into this stuff. Sadly, at the time it was published, the Museum of Anything Goes got almost zero recognition. There's only like one review from Wired made in 1996, and they absolutely hated it. It was singled out as an example of all the crappy CD-ROM games that are nothing but random ugly visuals combined without any thought or point. No plot, hardly any gameplay, nothing interesting to say. Just f***ing around with Macromedia like, look what I made! With an idea that since it's multimedia, it doesn't have to make sense. An idea that was apparently common enough to make the writer really frustrated. They also roasted the animations as unfunny Terry Gilliam wannabes. The conclusion is, quote, "If you took 100 monkeys, gave them all camcorders, copies of Macromedia Director, and a year at art school, this would be the result." End quote. Yeah, it's harsh, but also pretty funny. An article by a Chicago reader, written in 1997, mentions the museum briefly. It makes an interesting comparison between the game and a couple of art exhibitions in Chicago that explore the themes of technology and interactivity in art. The writer doesn't see anything super impressive in the game, but he acknowledges it's at least trying to use new technology in artistic expression. And this is already more that can be said for most of the works in reviewed art exhibitions. They were apparently pretty bad, but trying doesn't exactly mean succeeding here. Quote, "The images are more akin to eye candy than to surrealist statements, and none is particularly expressive as art," end quote. So yeah, he sees the game as mainly gimmicky playfulness with technology, not exactly profound expression. But the comparison itself is interesting. The game is noted as something on par with art exhibitions, like something you can see on a gallery or a museum, at a time when only few understood games as an art form. So contemporaries didn't seem to like the game all that much, and only recently it's found its audience. Modern players see it as a curiosity, an artsy experience rather than a video game. Think walking simulators. Not for everyone, like those who accept an actual game, but they have their fans. Obscure, quirky media like this is beloved by many nowadays, and what they see here is valuable self-expression, something human from the era when video game business started to become more and more corporate, sterile and impersonal. It's sometimes called shovelware, but unlike most of that type, it's clear that the creators were passionate about this game. It kinda reminds me of those old websites that were similarly surreal, collage-like art pieces, where you explore freely by clicking around and trying to discover new things hidden in a seemingly random madness. Or LSD Dream Emulator, that too. It also reminds me of Plumbers Don't Wear Ties of all things. Both are senseless point-and-click games with similar visual style, where they just compile random stuff and add ugly filters. The museum is just not aggressively bisexual in tone. New technology has always inspired artists, eager to try them out as tools of creation, like photography, moving pictures, computers, and even robotics. Like so many generations of artists before them, Markowski and Robinson seem to be genuinely excited about technology and rapidly developing computers. It's kinda refreshing to see new tech in a positive light for once. Like it wasn't even that long ago when it was commonly seen as something that's exciting, full of possibilities and hope, like we're getting world peace with the power of the internet. Unlike today, when new tech represents nightmarish horrors that destroy the environment, human expression and our thinking capability. The Museum of Anything Goes is sometimes introduced as one of the pioneering examples of this new art form of multimedia PC Rom games. Well, it's important to keep in mind that this game didn't exist in a vacuum, and it was far from the first of its kind. PC ROMs and games made for DOS were already common around this time, and the type of interactive multimedia experiences where you explore and click around has several predecessors before our museum. Games like Manhole, Myst, and especially Alice I Can't Explain, that combines an art gallery with surreal elements and free exploration. Full motion video was used in video games already in the 80s. Live-action FMV footage was utilized in games like Mad Dog McCree, Time Traveler, and Night Trap. Time Traveler looks especially familiar with green-screened actors in a 3D-modeled space. Multimedia was a big fad of the time, and it was kinda already phasing out in the mid-90s. Furthermore, most of the native titles of Windows 3.1, the system Museum was made for, were either ports of arcade games or multimedia experiments that made you question if they can be classified as games. So, exactly like the Museum of Anything Goes. So yes, the technology our museum was made with was relatively new at the time, but I hesitate calling Markowski and Robertson pioneers. I feel like that title is being used by fans of the game to kinda oversell its impact. Those who have played the game have been puzzled by one question. Who was this made for? It's been asked time and time again, and it's a good question. What is the target audience in something like this? Since it's a CD-ROM free roam game, many have assumed it to be a children's edutainment game, because that is the biggest stereotype about old computer games. It's all point-and-click edutainment extravaganza. But is that really the case? Can this be a children's game with all the creepy stuff like the carcass video with screeching babies and this face? Isn't this way too scary to kids? Not to mention adult topics like mentions of psychedelic drugs, wordy philosophical pondering, and even a sex joke.
Erotica, two-dimensional stimulation for one-dimensional minds.
On the other hand, there is something juvenile about the game, especially its humor. It can be so goofy.
Hey, you fool! You're gonna burn yourself!
Yeah, it's pretty much on brand 90's edutainment humor. Age rating doesn't give us any answers because this game doesn't have one. It was made just at the time when rating systems were being established. There's nothing on the cover, like any suggestions who should be playing this, only that it's definitely introduced as spooky. My guess would be this is less of an edutainment game for kids and more of an art experience made for anyone who's interested. And you know what? I think I would have liked this as a kid. When I was young, I was really into non-fiction books, like illustrated children's encyclopedias and documentaries like Eyewitness. The game kind of reminds me of that show too, especially the intro that also takes place in a white museum building with animals flying all over the place. The only thing that's missing from these hallways is that awesome theme song. Oh! Anyway, I was a nerdy kid, and my biggest obsession was ancient Egypt. And my favorite thing about it was mummies, so I read or watched anything about them I could get my hands on. They were like the most interesting thing in the world to me. So yeah, I was obsessed with dead bodies of all things, and saw a bunch of corpses in books targeted for children. Looking back, I wonder if my parents were ever concerned. Looking at 9-year-old me, checking out pictures of dead people like, wow, this is awesome! Like, did they ever ask themselves, is this one gonna become a serial killer? I also liked mummified animals, especially cats. Like, look at this. What a great design. Thousands of years old and I still vibe with this cat. My point is, even the scarier parts of the game probably wouldn't have been too shocking to a kid like me. And I know I'm far from the only one. Kids love spooky stuff, and ancient Egypt nerds are a dime in a dozen. And I saw worse things than this. Like, there was a couple of pictures in one of my books that were absolute nightmare fuel, freaky to look at even as an adult. Like this 19-year-old kid who lived in the early 1800s, who died in a failed Arctic expedition, so his body was well preserved in the cold. But why the hell did they put the picture of his mummified corpse on a children's book? It looks terrifying. Far more disturbing than anything about the game. And I'm not saying that any child would be fine with this, just that it kinda depends, and the adults might want to check it out beforehand. I also had some encyclopedias that were made for kids but had some adult topics in them, so I knew about the stuff like drugs and sex on some level. Nothing graphic, of course, just that this grown-up stuff exists. And honestly, I don't think the references in this game are too much. Like, there's no visuals and nothing super explicit. I doubt children would get messed up by reading the word LSD. It's the dead bodies with creepy noises, if anything. I feel like at the time we were perhaps more willing to educate kids about the heavier stuff in the world. Like, even kids' cartoons didn't hesitate to show some bleak moments. Shout out to the animals of farting wood. So maybe the more curious bookworm type kids would be fine with the Museum of Anything Goes, maybe even enjoy it. It's for the nerdy kids who like encyclopedias and nerdy adults who like art and literally no one else. 10 out of 10. The last baiting experience I want to talk about is one that's related to this question. Like, is it for the kids or not? Here, one of the creators, Markovsky, explains a period of his life when he was a substitute teacher. He worked with 6th grade kids in Chicago, and he shares pretty interesting things about his philosophy in teaching. He wanted to treat his students as equals, you know, human beings who have their own personalities. He cared about their future, wanting to support their growing as people, but his kids' future was sadly tainted by a crappy school system in the city of Chicago. At the time, it was one of the worst in the country. Markovsky was shocked by how bad things were. For example, there was like one computer for the class of 37 students. Yeah, good luck trying to learn how to use it. Computers were the future, but the school didn't have resources to educate in a way kids deserved. There's a good reason this is included in the game. Based on the short monologue alone, Markovsky seems like a person who truly cares for children and their future. He wants to support their curiosity, inspire them to learn more about the world. Was the game made because of these children? At least this blogger seems to think so, as they think that the bad school system is the sole reason for the game's existence. And they don't really explain why exactly do they think this is the case, but I think they might have a point here. Education is clearly something important to the creators, and I think they were inspired by the curiosity and creativity of children. The museum has been compared to children's imagination, some even suggesting if the students helped out with the ideas. Every child is an artist and all that, and it's important for adults to do their best to support them. I still hesitate to call this a kids game. I would rather describe it to be for curious people. Those who want to learn about the world, who we are and where do we live. Those who like to wonder about the difficult topics. Why are we here? What is our purpose? And how all of our lives have the same endpoint. And after our time is up, the world keeps on turning. How to create meaning in this short existence? What is our connection with the world like? The Museum of Anything Goes might not be the best or the most groundbreaking game out there, but it does make you think. I do believe it's far more interesting and important than critics of the past gave it credit for. It's inspired, passionate, expressive, a little bit silly and gimmicky, sometimes outright disturbing. Like life itself, it's chaotic and random at times, yet filled with wonder and beauty. I'm glad it exists and got saved from obscurity. It deserves to be more than a footnote in the history of computer games, and especially more than an internet legend about speculated corpses.
Go!